The Penguin has bucked the trend of most comic book TV shows by refusing to sag in the middle. The inspired move that makes that possible is shifting focus away from Colin Farrell's Oz Cobb for a chapter dedicated almost entirely to Sophia Falcone, who, so far, has proved to be a revelation. If you weren't convinced of that already, this episode will be the clincher. It is easily one of the most impressive episodes of DC TV I've ever seen. Episode 4 takes a detour away from Oz's attempts to consolidate his rising power and refuses to build on the shocking confrontation of Oz by Nadia Moroni. Instead, we head into Sophia's past and the Hangman crimes with an extended flashback that reintroduces Carmine Falcone, opens up the doors of Arkham, and offers a brutal, sublime 60 minutes of premium TV. Miliotti's Sophia takes center stage and the reward is immediate. Picking up where the Penguin Episode 3's ending left her, bloodied and betrayed outside the Apex Club, the episode jumps back in time before her incarnation in Arkham. In doing so, it builds up not only to the outrageous evil of Carmine Falcone's backstory, but also builds on lots of the ideas we've all been so entertained by so far for the last 3 hours of The Penguin. And really, had Oz been around more, he would have been too much of a distraction. The episode makes a conscious statement about Sophia reclaiming her own story, after the show has drip-fed vague details and allowed the spectre of Sophia's reputation to guide audiences' perception. This isn't so much of a rug pull as an artful connection of dots, and it's hard not to shower the whole thing with superlatives.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
There's a lot been said about the idea of an Arkham spin-off for the Batman. It was always a fun idea because we all seem to have this collective misconception of what Arkham is, largely because of the opportunity to see a high density of Batman's rogues gallery. When you think about Arkham, you think of a prison largely run by the inmates and a breeding ground for Gotham's worst residents. Why wouldn't that be cool? The Penguin doubles down on Matt Reeves' stark realism by making Arkham a deeply troubling place. Just as the city is poisoned by corruption, Arkham is a hell of abuse where Carmine's influence trumps all pretense of treatment. Arkham Hospital for Sophia is an insulting name because it effectively turns her into what she's accused of, and the Penguin Episode 4 does an excellent job of showing both sides of her origins, trigger, and rebirth. The real standout is Sid Skidmore's Abby, the Arkham inmate who plays a key part in Sophia's awakening, let's say. Skidmore is very much a newcomer with few roles to her name, but is incredible as Abby, equal parts terrifying and haunting. Her physical performance is jarring, no doubt thanks to Skidmore's clowning training, and there's an otherworldly feel to her compared to Sophia that fits exactly with how the episode plays with reality. I cannot get the performance out of my head, and she's on screen for a matter of minutes.
Power! Power, come on!
From Sophia's introduction in Episode 1 and in Oz's indoctrination of Victor, we've been fed an idea of supposedly lesser characters taking up space. Both Oz and Sophia are characters who should exist on the fringes, but who take up space with who radically challenges the nature of order of power. This episode is the culmination of that clever seeding. In a more subtle way, it also justifies why Batman is missing from the Penguin. Sophia's story is one of direct parallels to Bruce Wayne and Batman's, and his presence would be far too vulgar. It's far better to give the audience the hints they need to construct that parallel and to work out the subtle message running through the whole show about the perception of Batman as a symbol and Bruce Wayne as a male member of Gotham's elite class. His absence makes that examination more compelling than if he was around more tangibly. Kristen Miliotti is an absolute force of nature willing to allow herself to be mistreated in the harrowing Arkham induction, forced into a cowering reduction of herself and then blossoming out of it like a furious wounded animal. The third act, in which she becomes what Carmine wanted her to be, is as close to a horror movie villain as we've seen in this show. And for once, I agree with Matt Reeves' assessment that the world doesn't need supernatural characters, it makes its own monsters.
That is also true!
The hard switch in the story from Sophia's time in Arkham to her dealing with Luca Falcone's attempts to ship her off to Italy is irresistible. You will hear people say that this is Penguin's Emmy episode, and it's really hard to argue otherwise. The story is bruising but complex, delivering on ideas seeded throughout the first 4 episodes. The performances uniformly great, and in the best way, you can see the directing playing out. The way the camera frames Sophia's treatment in Arkham adds infinitely to how awful it feels, and the genius framing of her long gestating retaliation in the final act is delicious. It's almost like a new take on the much memed ending sequence in Saltburn, only with an even darker spin. If this is not the best episode of DC TV ever, it's very, very close.
Yes, I agree, let's do it.